In today's video, I'm going to talk about the shadow. Ooh. Welcome back, everyone. My name's Fola, and on this channel, we talk about the bridge between mental health and the spiritual. And this is really an important topic, bringing up this idea of the shadow. So I just want to give a big shout out to Lesley. Thanks for the suggestion for this topic today. And if anyone else has any other suggestions for videos or themes, topics they'd like to hear about, you can feel free to let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to respond. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell. Let's get started. So about the shadow, Carl Jung was the one who kind of spoke a lot about the shadow and the importance of looking at these aspects of our self, our consciousness, who we be. And the fact that we have these characteristics about ourselves that, we see in the light, we see as, yeah, I could share that out. I want everyone to know that I'm good at this. I'm dedicated. I get focused when it comes to maybe getting work done. And then we have this aspect of ourself, which is the shadow. These pieces of ourselves, these characteristics that we don't necessarily want others to know about. And that can really range from maybe lustful thoughts to feeling selfish or being selfish. And I think it comes down to us integrating these pieces. So when we talk about shadow work, it's really about how do we start to see those parts of ourselves, those characteristics that maybe we've for so long been told that they're not good, that we should make sure no one ever sees us showing up in that way. It's about allowing those pieces to integrate into our present reality and acknowledge that, hey, no matter where you are, no matter what you've done, it's all a part of who you be as a human being. And this can be a challenging work to do because, let's be honest, no one wants to see those yucky pieces of themselves, the parts that we judge because we've been so long told they are not good. I know for myself, a huge part is around selfishness or self-love, self-care, self-full. It can be a challenge, especially as women, as mothers, as partners. It's we're told if we're looking at ourselves, focusing on ourselves, that's a bad thing. But the more that I've gone through the shadow work and really started to integrate and look at, hey, I'm responsible for me, I'm responsible for my emotions, the easier it's become. And I've started to shift my perspective of from that place of, hey, Fola, you're being selfish if you do that thing or this thing, to now, hey, I can look at myself and I can do the things that feel good for me. And I'm not going to do it in the at harm's way of another, because that's a whole other concept. We don't want to overstep into karma and all that stuff. I can look after myself, take care of myself, and that is actually going to build me up more. And the fact that I'm actually somewhat good at doing those things, bonus. It's easier than maybe other people have had issues with. But I mean, that's never always been the most positive experience for me in relationships where I've been told, maybe I'm too selfish. I'm not sure. But I think it's really about looking and checking in within yourself. So what are some ways that you can start to really integrate your shadow? I would say the first part is to acknowledge that you have this shadow side, that there are just like the yin yang, the polar opposites within you, within each human, and to really have compassion for yourself, that this is just part of our human experience. And once you've done that, maybe it's time to actually make a list. You can write down in a journal, write down on a piece of paper, what are some characteristics that you really like about yourself, and maybe what are some characteristics that you struggle to accept about yourself. That's going to be the focus of the shadow work. And then I would say, go in there, look at your list of the, maybe just starting with one, and you can pick one that seems to be the easiest one for you to work through at that point. And just start to spend some time writing out what are some negative aspects about that, or things that maybe have led you down a not so great path in your life. Maybe you've been told you're a certain way. Maybe it's resulted in you losing friends or, having some type of loss in your life. Maybe it's really put you at risk in some way. And then you can make a list of all those positive experiences or characteristics of that specific shadow trait. For instance, with my example with like the selfishness, it's like, hey, okay, maybe sometimes I hear like criticisms from people and they tell me they don't feel like they're being very well supported because I'm focusing on my own thing. On the other side, it could be, okay, but I seem to have a better ability to self-care and I take more responsibility for myself versus sometimes other people. And this, again, isn't about right or wrong. It's just about your perception of what is working for you and what isn't working. And it's just in the simple naming of what the characteristics are, some ways in which it's worked for you and some ways in which it hasn't, that you're going to start to see, okay, there's something like greater here that maybe we've like been conditioned to not see. And when you can start to see those parts of yourself, just ask. You can ask yourself internally. You can meditate on it. Just allow yourself to say, I accept all of these pieces. These are all of me, and I accept them now with love, with compassion. And I forgive myself anytime I've ever doubted these characteristics. And just trusting that as you go through this process, it's going to become lighter and easier as you go through those characteristics. And don't be surprised that if you go through your day and you start to kind of be tested by different interactions or overhearing conversations, like those synchronicities of you're doing the work over here and then you start to see it mirrored out like around you with other people acting certain ways and so forth. Just see that as an opportunity to practice what you're trying to do. And that can mean like showing yourself the compassion when those feelings or those characteristics start to show up, or if they're showing up in people around you and you're getting irked by the fact like, well, that person's selfish. Because remember, everyone is a mirror of us, so it's gonna happen. So that's just like a simple way to start into some of the shadow work. You can go like way in more depth with this. I love like the journeys with the drum, different forms of like plant medicines to really like dive into this stuff. You can even see a counselor, a coach, a therapist. This is some of the work that we do with people. But really, it's important that you remember you have those answers within you. Just start asking the questions, okay? And feel free to like and share this video with anyone that you think might benefit from doing a little shadow work, or you just want to share it out. Until next time, you guys, you have a lovely, lovely day. Bye.